Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
Got him. But anyway, let's get into these predictions, guys.
Please.
We got a whole slate. Nobody's on bye this week because it's the end of the season. A lot of interesting games, a lot of games that could really go either way here. As any of you following the podcast or following the predictions know, I'm currently 12 games behind Thomas on the season. So, you know, I got to get a little creative here to have a chance to come back.
You got to pick all the opposites. Hope it works.
Yeah, well, Zach, we'll see if you can best. Well, I think we've had 2 guests on the show so far, so both of which didn't do so well. So you don't really have a high bar to set here.
All right.
I take that back. TJ did all right. TJ did all right. Alex did fine, but did worse than me and Thomas. So
I'll tell you, man, there have been a couple weeks that have been real shit shows. Just between, what the Jets have done the last couple weeks and, you thinking New England can beat a team or two that ends up blowing it. It's been a couple shit shows.
Actually, my big upset of the week last week, which is, by the way, that's a thing we do. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but just to kind of make things interesting, we try to pick at least one big upset of the week and kind of announce that. My pick last week was actually the Falcons over the Chiefs, and it almost happened.
Almost hit, it honestly dropped interception and a kicker away.
Yep.
Almost hit.
So, shit, what was my last week?
Yours, I don't remember what yours was.
I can't remember what mine was either. I know 2 weeks ago it was the Bengals and Steelers. Got that one right. I hit that one.
That's a good upset pick. Honestly, I did. I just out of my heart, I had the Jets last week as my upset. I went with my heart there because I needed that to happen.
I hate you.
Thank you. And with the Browns losing that game, I don't have to acknowledge that the Steelers helped us get in the playoffs if we get in. I don't have to acknowledge that. So that was big.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so thank you.
We're trying to get 3 teams, and we're trying our hardest to get 3 teams in the playoffs.
I know. I want 3 teams in, just like
I do want 3 teams in the playoffs though, so you can brag about.
2014, we got 3 teams in. Sorry, Thomas, on that one, but
hey man,
Ravens
next year we have 4 teams in playoffs.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Ravens actually went the furthest in that 2014 playoff.
Sorry, Kyle.
That was fun. Yeah. That was during the Bengals losing streak there.
All right, so let's go ahead and start on this. I'm going to start on in a weird spot that we don't normally start, and it's mostly because, Thomas, when you sent me your predictions, you did not send me this prediction, so we're going to go ahead and do this first. That way we don't have to worry about it later. But we're going to go ahead and start with the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles.
I didn't do that one. Ooh.
So why don't you give me your pick, Zach?
You know what? I think Washington is using an AAF QB, and I just don't think the offense is ready. I think Philly pulls off. I think Philly pulls it off. And you know what? And you can even mark that if that's supposed to be an upset. I don't know if it is. If that is supposed to be an upset. There are no
upsets when it comes to NFC East teams. They all deserve to lose every week.
Then good, because I have another upset in mind. But I think Philly's got this. I think Jalen Hurts puts up 350 total yards, 3 touchdowns, gets the dub. Washington, you are going to lose. The New York Football Giants are going to make the NFL playoffs.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Right. He's right.
So,
by God, he's right. The fact that the Giants are going to be in the playoffs, right?
Yep.
And the Browns could possibly miss playoffs at 10 wins, or the fact that there could be an 11-win team that missed the playoffs this year.
So Thomas, does that mean the New York Giants win the Odell Beckham trade? If that happens,
I mean, they got a safety, and we need a safety. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. They got a safety, and we need a safety. So I'm not going to say they lost. I think it's a mutual loss.
Both teams D-. What do you think?
It's kind of like the cat.
On that note, it might be mutually beneficial then too. It's because
Yeah, they both make the playoffs
Well,
the same year.
would you say the Celtics won the Kyrie Irving trade?
When they traded him away?
No, when they traded for him.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah, so it's kind of I chalk it up to that. It's like when the Celtics traded for Kyrie Irving. Like, oh yeah, we got this great player. Turns out he's a diva, doesn't want to be here.
So who's your
turns out he's a chemistry.
Kyrie.
Who's your pick?
Kyrie.
Are you allowed to talk junk about Kyrie being a Cavs fan? Isn't that like a mortal sin?
We don't like. We got mixed feelings about Kyrie. Kyrie's like the girl that it's like the girlfriend that you broke up with, but you had your best relationship with, so you don't really want to talk smack about her, but she's still your ex type stuff.
So is she the one where you get into a relationship with Colin Sexton and you're all like, remember Kyrie? You remember her? She was cute.
Yeah,
cool.
Well, it's pretty much yes.
All right.
Yes.
So give me your pick, Thomas, for the
the Eagles. The Eagles.
All right.
Yes.
I think we're
and
all.
I can't believe.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I can't believe he's right, but he's right. The Giants going to be.
Yeah, no.
Playoff team.
I kind of agree with that. We'll get to that in a second, but I agree. You got Jalen Hurts is just going to be all the difference in this one. You got who I think I looked up who actually ended up taking a bunch of snaps for Washington when we did the predictions recap last week, and I couldn't even pronounce his name. Like, I don't know who. Heineke. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's might be better off suited as a beer. I don't know. But
it's a knockoff Heineken, man.
Exactly. But or maybe he's related to Chris Weineke and just forgot how to spell his name. I don't know, but I think the Eagles are by far and away. Well, okay, they're pretty evenly matched as football teams, but just from a quarterbacking perspective,
they're pretty evenly matched as football teams. Pun.
It's a quarterback league, and I just don't think the offense for Washington is gonna be good enough.
Not to mention the Eagles have been playing better with Jalen Hurts, so there's that.
They like him. I
don't see any NFC East team really doing anything that they should do. So I can't see Washington winning the division.
I see it as similar, and I see Philly as, the 2018 Ravens, where you put Lamar in. Was Lamar in 2018 a better football player than Joe Flacco? Heck no. But was he a player who people wanted to rally around, just like Jalen Hurts? Absolutely. The team likes Jalen Hurts. The team will play for Jalen Hurts. The team will do extra for Jalen Hurts. Yep. And that's the guy you got to roll with. So
I gotta say this one more time this year. So I got to say this one more time. The season's over. The Eagles are out of the playoffs. So I won't get a chance to say this again on this podcast for a very long time.
Maybe ever.
But Carson Wentz, you are trash. I have been the first person on the Carson Wentz's trash bandwagon. Kyle, you can attest for this. Since we started this podcast, the first thing I say on the first episode of the podcast was Carson Wentz, you are trash. And I stuck with it.
People thought I was crazy. Not have you get that CEO job, man. They're going to find this video, and it's going to be knocking Carson when he wins 3 Super Bowls.
It's okay. It's worth it. Because anybody who named their child Carson in the first place, but like not only that, you're trash, Carson. If I'm being honest, I'm still mad at Carson Wentz for it's something that happened in college. Carson Wentz is a person to me in college. It was 2013. The Youngstown State Penguins have a chance to make it to the college football playoff in the FCS. Yes, that's right. And who do they play? North Dakota State. Who's quarterbacking for North Dakota State? Carson effing Wentz. And the thing is that we was winning this game. We was winning that game by 17 points. This dude Carson Wentz started throwing bombs. I hated that dude ever since. And I yelled at him from the sidelines of Youngstown State and called him and the coach trash. And they still beat us.
I know this story.
By 20.
I've never heard that story before. That is fantastic.
Youngstown State. See, I'm Gardner Webb, also an FCS squad. We're never going to make the college football playoffs. No. I mean, we played in the same conference as Liberty and Coastal Carolina back when I went to school. So, I mean, yeah, we're trash.
Wow.
We did make the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. So, last time they had an NCAA tournament, Gardner Webb made it.
There you go, Gardner Webb.
All right, moving on. We got the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I think I can guess what your prediction on this one is, Zach, based on what you said earlier.
Yep.
So you're picking the Giants, I assume.
I think Andy Dalton, God rest his soul, is going to throw a game-ending interception as they are driving to win the game. And I think as much as Andy Dalton has made the Ravens, given the Ravens quite the nightmare during his career, I think that he finally chokes one up. Giants are going to be up by 4. They're going to be on the 20-yard line, and he throws it.
Finally chokes one up.
Well, against us, he turned into.
He's not playing you guys. He's playing the Giants.
I understand that, but he is going to throw it. He is going to throw a game-ending interception, and the Giants will be celebrating as NFC East champions.
I don't know
if that happens, I'm tweeting at you. I'm tweeting at you Sunday.
Okay.
If that happens, I'm tweeting at you Sunday, dude. That'd be the funniest thing.
It's gonna happen right at 7:53 on the dot.
I am not going so far as to say that I'm going to be able to predict whether Andy Dalton will throw the game away at the very end due to a very specific kind of happening. But I do agree with you. The Giants right now are the better football.
I want to say also fumble counts too.
A fumble counts too.
A strip sack fumble.
That's very
Andy Dalton-esque turnover. So it can't be like CeeDee Lamb throws it away or fourth down stop. Nah, he is going to turn it over.
If it happens that way, then even though you only participated in 1 week of this, we'll crown you the champion of the season.
Yeah.
I can't disagree. I can't disagree with Zach. Zach, if that happens, I'm working on a video where I'm putting a complimentary of the best predictions of the year, top 10 best predictions of the year. I'm gonna definitely put that in there. So I hope that happens. And how can I disagree with you? How can I disagree with you on this one? How can I disagree with you on that? So I also picked the Giants. So hold on, let me make sure I have my list.
So,
yep, I also picked the Giants.
What we're saying is that all 3 of us are predicting that for the first time in NFL history, there will be a division winner at 6-10.
Yes.
Wow. Trash.
Oh,
and you know what? It would be the NFC East too, because when you have a fan of one of these 4 teams, the one thing they'll say 2 things. One is that the other 3 teams that they don't root for in that division suck, and B, that they all have Super Bowl rings, and they're the only division that can say they have Super Bowl rings. And you know what I have to say to that? Your division is trash. I have always thought the NFC East has been the trashiest division since I have started watching football. Sometimes you have one team at 13-3, and then the rest of the teams are at 6-10. And once again, it would be the NFC East making the playoffs with a team at 6-10. It would be.
And every fan base in the NFC East is full of douchebags.
Oh yeah. And you can see why. You just look at location and what the team is, and you know why. You don't even have to say anything else.
I guess Washington have the best fans, but
what sucks is that Baltimore is stationed right in the middle between Philly and DC. So it's just been ugly for us, man. It's been ugly.
It's been weird that you guys are part. I mean, I get it because you used to be the Browns, but other than that, it's always been weird to me that you guys are in the AFC North when there's so many other rivalries that would have made sense. I mean, I guess I kind of get Pittsburgh.
The NFL put the Ravens in the AFC North so they can hunt the Browns fans for the rest of their lives.
People in Cincinnati have literally, until the Ravens existed, sports fans in Cincinnati never even, I think, thought about the city of Baltimore, to be honest.
Remember, remember, we were in the division when it was 6 teams where we had Tennessee and Jacksonville with us too.
Yep.
That's true.
What was that called? The AFC Central?
Yeah. Which made sense, sort of, except for Cleveland.
None of the divisions clearly make sense because Dallas is in the NFC East. So you know what? I just have nothing to say.
If the divisions made sense, it would be the Browns, the Bengals, the Bears, and the Lions in the same division. And I wouldn't be too mad about that.
I would put us with the with one of the New York teams or New Jersey teams, whatever you want to classify them as.
Definitely Jersey.
Give us Philly, and screw it, we'll take New England or Buffalo.
That would be
honestly though. I like our divisions right now.
Be a thing now, but like a couple of years ago, Baltimore and New England in the same division would have been excellent television.
Do not break up the AFC North, though. I love the AFC North. Wait, the AFC North is just a perfect division, though.
The AFC North is perfect. I love it.
It's so perfect, and they're not. The cities aren't far. They're really not that far, honestly.
So speaking of the North, we got the Lions and Vikings next. Two very bad teams. They're both of them probably about as bad as the Bengals. So
no Dalvin Cook from Minnesota.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's actually why I'm going with the Lions because of that. I know Matthew Stafford is out, but I don't this Minnesota team they're probably deflated after that loss against the
that knocked him out.
Yeah,
that knocked him out.
Yeah, they're not Dalvin Cook. He has personal issues.
Dad passed away.
Yeah, so I wish him the best. You know, you're a good dude, Dalvin Cook. I'm not gonna say anything negative about you. I'm not gonna rip you in this podcast.
You did wonders for my fantasy team.
Yeah, you did. 2 years ago, I had you on my fantasy team, and I gambled on you a couple of years ago on your fantasy team before you got big, and I appreciate you, Dalvin Cook. You making the Cowboys regret taking Ezekiel Elliott. Same draft, by the way.
Who's your pick, Zach?
My pick. This is the first time I'm gonna disagree with Thomas here. I think Mattinson's gonna hold the fort down, and with Matt Stafford being out, Detroit just doesn't have anything to play for. Minnesota at least is gonna try to play for pride. Detroit is going to play for their interim to the interim head coach. So honestly, I just don't see it. I see Minnesota getting done.
I was getting a little worried that we were going to end up with everybody picking the same picks all the goddamn time, sort of love fest going on. So I'm glad that you picked differently on this because I am actually going to agree with Thomas on this one. Without Dalvin Cook, with just the complete utter annihilation of the Vikings season that's happened so far, I just that team does not feel like a team that's even ready to be competitive. Now the Lions have a lot of issues. I grant you that, but I think out of these two teams, I think the Lions. If I had to bet, the Lions being at home is going to be part of the boost that they need to.
I think even Dalvin Cook's personal issues aside, I don't think he plays this week anyway. I think with his injury issues, they probably would have sat him out anyway.
That's probably true.
They're not playing for anything. He's torn ACL. He's had groin issues this year. He ain't.
Although I guess you wonder if maybe Mike Zimmer's coaching for his job.
And that's another thing. I think when you have an interim to an interim coach who probably knows he's not getting that job, that's why I think Minnesota has more to play for on Sunday. But I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. So we'll see what happens.
Fair enough. Next, let's see. The other NFC North game is the Packers and Bears. Now, I famously got this one wrong last time these two teams played, and our most recent guest did not let me live that one down.
Did you pick the Bears?
I did pick the Bears.
And you know what, Kyle?
I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but they did not win.
Kyle, you know what? I'm going to do you one better. For their playoff lives and Green Bay is that franchise who everything can go right and it will still go wrong. They will not get the flipping 1 seed. They are going to lose this game. I don't have them in my pool as losing this game, but thinking about it over and over again, I just think what happens with Green Bay, and we've seen it, Green Bay has had a chance a couple times to nab that home field, to steal that 1 seed, and they always muck it up. They always mess it up. It's always just a shit show. And I think Chicago with Mitch Trubisky is going to win that game. So I will take the heat for this one. I got Chicago.
All right. What do you think, Thomas?
I'm gonna go Chicago too. I'm sorry. I was looking at this. Ian Rappaport was talking about the Browns COVID situation. Okay. After now, there's no new positives, so we're okay.
That's good.
Okay, Cleveland. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. We just got to make it to Sunday without getting sick. Everybody just stay home. Don't go to the grocery store. Don't go buy Twisted Tea. Don't do it. Don't leave the house. Don't let nobody in the house. Everybody stay home. Do at home workouts. Games. Do at home workouts. Everybody just do at home workouts in your basement. Y'all got basements. Just do some at home. Do those yoga exercises. Do some Taibo. Everybody
look into some sort of hologram version of yourself for the walkthrough on Saturday or whatever.
Yeah. Virtual walkthroughs, whatever.
Walkthrough.
Yeah, we got videos. Y'all got all these videos, cameras. Do some virtual walkthroughs. Y'all know what to do.
So how
being said, give me the Bears.
You the Bears?
The Bears.
Wow, that was.
I'm picking them for my father.
That was great analysis of the Bears. You talked about the Browns. I'm gonna push back on both you on this one.
You can have it.
I made the mistake last time of trusting the Bears over the Packers, and I call it call it wounds. I don't know. Call it what you want, but I think I think the Bears are just I think the Bears are better off with Mitch Trubisky, but I think there are certain teams that the Bears just do not play well against, and that's the Green Bay Packers. So I don't see a lot of – because for me, a lot of the upsets that I pick are based on matchups, and from a matchup perspective, I just don't see this really being any good for the Bears at all. Like, I mean, the Packers have too much that they can do on offense to really get completely slowed down, like by any team, even the Bears with their occasionally elite defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, David Montgomery is not going to take advantage of that Packers run defense, even though, they did hold Derrick Henry down. But I can see Mitch Trubisky getting really flustered in this game and possibly having a similar situation that we had last time. So I made this mistake last time of picking the Bears, and I don't see it again. The Packers do have something to fight for. The Bears have something to fight for as well, but I think they're just simply an inferior football team to the Green Bay Packers. So I don't think that's going to happen.
It's worth noting that I think that maybe like once or twice all year, Kyle predicted the Bears to win correctly. So I kept
picking either for them or against them, and I was wrong almost every single time.
Every single time. So
the trend continue.
So I'm just gonna say that I'm very confident in this one. I gotta leave in a minute. So can I do my big upset of the week next?
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you announce the next game then?
Okay, so my big upset of the week, the next game is the Chargers versus Chiefs, and I'm actually going with the Chargers this game as my big upset of the week. Now, this is technically not a big upset, but I believe I read that the Chiefs are resting Patrick Mahomes this weekend.
They are.
Yes. All right. So, yeah. So, I'm not even going to front, man. Justin Herbert, man, he looks good. Justin Herbert looks really good. That kid, man, he broke Baker Mayfield's record. And that record is not easy to be broke. Like, think about the people who broke that record. Peyton Manning. Like, Peyton Manning, Baker Mayfield. Like, this dude is elite. This dude is elite.
That Joe Burrow had a shot at that before he went down.
Yeah, he did. He probably did. He actually, I would say he did. I think Joe Burrow might have broke a yardage record because Joe Burrow's yardage was just ridiculous. He was more of a sometimes he'd have a lot of yards, not too many touchdowns. But Joe Burrow was great at quick completions. Justin Herbert, he finds that end zone, man. That kid is going to be dangerous. So with that said, my big upset of the week with the Chiefs resting Patrick Mahomes. Give me the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to win. That's my big upset of the week.
I don't agree with you. I mean, I see what you're saying with them resting Patrick Mahomes, but I think the Chiefs are so unbelievably talented outside of Patrick Mahomes is not the only reason they're winning games.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I think even
You
with
could almost say that it's their targets that are winning games lately.
well, right.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Tyreek Hill did to what was it, the Buccaneers?
Tampa Bay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, Patrick Mahomes was having his struggles against the Atlanta Falcons of all teams. So, it's not just Patrick Mahomes out there. I mean, it's probably too as well.
We have a term in this podcast that talks about it's called privileged quarterbacks. So like young quarterbacks who comes in good situations or bad situations. So quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield or Joe Burrow or
Justin
Herbert. Yeah, come in really bad situations with really bad teams. But Patrick Mahomes, he comes to a Chiefs team that his first start in the NFL was because the Chiefs locked up a playoff spot, and they started Patrick Mahomes because that was his first game in NFL.
Yep.
Not because somebody got injured or not because we believe you're the quarterback in the future and we're starting to rebuild. It was, hey, we might get a playoff spot, So
that's Alex Smith. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So there's not so when you look at these quarterbacks, every quarterback situation is not equal. And Patrick Mahomes never really had the same adversity as a lot of young quarterbacks around him had. But with that said, I still think Patrick Mahomes is still just a freaking amazing quarterback. So I'm not going to really say anything else negative about him. But that's all I can say that's negative about him. He's never been in a bad situation.
Privilege is definitely the word I would use. I mean, the guy has by far and away the best core out of any quarterback. I mean, he really does. He has the number one tight end. He has arguably a top 5, top 3 receiver. I mean, you can argue. I mean, the receiver rankings it just depends on who you root for and who you like or whatever. I always found that like quarterbacks were more a subjective opinion than receivers. I think, when you look at receivers, like it would just be like, do you like the big physical guy? Do you like the burner? Do you like the route runner? Like, who do you like? Yeah. That's what receivers are. He has by far the best core, and he might even have the best offensive mind calling his plays.
Yeah,
definitely. Very, very privileged. But again, like Thomas said, he is clearly the best quarterback in the league. Regardless of who he's throwing to, he does things that no one else can do.
He absolutely is. But I
goes like this.
I think the Chargers are also one of are as snake bitten as any other franchise in the NFL. And I don't see like Justin Herbert, great, but you need more than Justin Herbert to win games. And I think the Chiefs are just too good. Even playing not all starters, I think the Chiefs can beat the Chargers. I don't think that the Chargers.
I think Chad Henne gets the dub here. I mean, I haven't made my pick yet, but Chad Henne gets the dub here. I think Kansas City wins a 20-14 squeaker. I think Herbert's going to have some trouble with the defense.
I got to agree with that. So let's move back to the NFC for now. Then talk about actually, since Thomas has got to leave, let's talk about some of the AFC teams.
I've got one more pick in me.
Normally we do these last, but since Thomas has got to go, let's go ahead and do these. Let's do the AFC North games. So let's start with the Bengals and Ravens. Zach, I think I already know your pick because you said it earlier during the podcast.
Yeah, if you guys know what a confidence pool is, you take, your most points and put them, with the team you feel most confident is going to win. You have 1 to 16 points, 16 being like you have the most confidence. Putting 1 point on a matchup is like I have no confidence there. I put 14 on this game. I saw 2 other games that I felt more confident in. Like I think Indianapolis is going to beat Jacksonville, so I put 16 on that. But Baltimore, I put 14 points on this game. I am very confident that they are going to win. I don't think it's going to be like, the Ravens dominating offensive fashion, I still think they're going to put up some points. I don't think it's going to be like a 45, 43 point affair, or even the game last year, the same game last year where we put up, what was that, 43? Did we put 45? We put up 40, over 40 in that game. I think it might have been 47. I think Lamar, though, does have, and you can book it for this, I think Lamar does have another 30-plus yard touchdown.
All right. Thomas?
I gotta agree with him. Unless the Ravens start dancing on the 50-yard line of the Bengals like the Steelers do, I don't see the Ravens losing this game. I think this game will be very similar to that Ravens game 2 years ago when Lamar Jackson did, or last year when Lamar Jackson did that spin move. You got veteran head coach. You got a team that's been in the playoff 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row. When's the last time I missed the playoffs?
No, actually, this would be our third year in a row. So far, we've already made it twice. Last time we missed the playoffs was thanks to Tyler Boyd.
Got you. So, no, they're not going to let that happen again. This Ravens team is going the right direction. Harbaugh is going to have them focused. They're not losing this game. I don't think they're losing this game. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to win this game pretty handily. I think they're going to be focused, and I think their experience is going to shine this game. I think they're going to show why they're a playoff team. So give me the Ravens.
You know what? The Bengals have been as hot as anybody last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, you can't win more than 2 games in a row, right?
Yeah. Hey, 2 wins is 2 wins.
Yeah.
Brandon Allen gives us a chance to win without Joe Burrow. Thank God we're not starting Ryan Finley. But I don't know, the way I see it, you got Bengals wide receivers who are looking to make their mark on Bengals history. You got, both T. Higgins is chasing the rookie touchdown record while A.J. Green is chasing the franchise touchdown record, and this might be his last year to do it because he.
Oh, A.J. Green, I have some strong words for A.J. Green.
But
in a positive,
I
negative.
I think there is something to be said about that Ravens secondary. Maybe not being at its peak of health right now. The Bengals are on a run right now where, like I said, this team, I'll have to go through it and look at the exact numbers, but this is a team that could have been right there in the playoff picture at this, potentially 10-6 mark. Like you guys are at right now, if we had actually followed through and won some of these games that we were on track to win. Now, as it happens, that didn't happen. Our season's been a complete fucking joke. But the team should not be just. I don't think this team should be written off the way a lot of people write this team off, because this team has talent. This team is playing for a head coach that they all seem to believe in right now, and not to mention, I've been getting kind of embarrassed lately by constantly picking against the Bengals, and then they win. So I'm gonna not let that happen this week. So I'm going the Bengals.
By the way, I picked the Bengals to win the last 2 weeks, and they've been making me look like a genius. So make me look like a genius again, Bengals.
Yeah, but the other way.
Yeah, but the other way, yes.
I've been picking.
Come on, Cincinnati.
The last 2 weeks, and I've never been happier to be wrong, but I've still been wrong.
Go team.
I'll be wrong again. Good luck catching. It's okay. I'll stop talking smack to you.
Let's.
We're doing a playoff bet, by the way. Playoff game.
By the way, Marcus Peters did practice today, so it looks like you are going to be facing Marlon and Marcus on Sunday.
No, so much for that, but I'm still picking the Bengals.
Hey, man, I wasn't trying to change your mind. I was just letting you know that you will be seeing, which honestly could bode well for the deep threats of the Bengals, because he likes to gamble.
The deep threats.
When I mean deep threats, I mean like
all of the threats that we have on this team.
When I mean deep threats, I mean you might want to run T. Higgins on some doubles, some double move. Yeah, that's what I mean by deep threats. That seems to get us.
Let's go ahead and move on to the Steelers and Browns, though.
Tie.
I hate you.
I'm kidding.
Y'all go first, man. Okay, I'll go first. All right, cool. I'll go first since I'm gonna get there anyway. I think the Browns are going to win this week. I think the Browns are going to win.
Better.
Pretty handily this week. I think that they're going to regain focus. One of the things that we didn't have last week, one of the reasons why our run game is so good is because we have an amazing offensive line. Our offensive line helps our run game a lot. And it's been the Browns have to have a losing record. The only player they have a losing record when they're playing without is Wyatt Teller. They're 2-3 without Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller should be back this week. Please don't get COVID. Don't you dare get COVID, Wyatt Teller. I'll kick your ass.
I'll tweet at him, and I'll see what happens.
So it looks like we're gonna have Wyatt Taylor back. Look like he's starting to be healthy again. We just need the Browns to just stay focused, man, and just play their game, play their identity. Don't be thinking about playoffs. Don't think about, hey, I can't do this because I don't want to play this team in playoffs and they know what's coming. Who cares? Just make the playoffs right now. We gotta focus on making playoffs right now. Do whatever you can to make playoffs. Play your heart out. I think Baker's going to refocus. I think Baker felt something. He felt that pain against the Jets. I think he needed to feel that pain to fire him up. He's somebody who plays well with his back against the wall. By the way, I'm going to retweet this ball fight that just scrolled on my timeline on Twitter because this is between Mississippi State and whoever the tosser. They're brawling. By the way, that's a little off topic. Browns going to win by 2 touchdowns this weekend. Give me Baker Mayfield. 2 tutties. 2 tutties. Give me 2 sacks by Myles Garrett.
I hope so. I hope.
I hope you're right.
No, I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna be too arrogant. They're just gonna win. I ain't gonna be arrogant about this.
So Zach,
I'm not gonna jinx it, but they're gonna win it.
Zach, are you getting a tie, or do you have a reasonable answer?
No, I have a real answer. I think it would be so Cleveland to tie, but I think I do think Cleveland gets the dub. I think Cleveland. I mean, Pittsburgh has had its offensive troubles with a full team, so I think without a full team, I think the run game is literally but literally going to be non-existent because it's been kind of non-existent, but it's going to literally be non-existent against Cleveland and making Mason Rudolph playing with a one-dimensional offense. This isn't Oklahoma State. He's going down. I think Cleveland wins this game.
Okay. So, listen. The Browns just lost to the Jets.
I knew it.
But meantime, they had COVID. They had COVID.
You know what?
They
again, apparently. Maybe not on the receivers this time. They're still dealing with COVID.
They had 19, man.
So they had probably like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, man.
People forget.
They probably had like 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
You look at the Jets. You look at the Jets, and they're beating the teams who always say will the Jets beat Alabama? Yes, they would smoke Alabama.
Oh yeah,
they would smoke Ohio State. They're an NFL football team. If you trot out a B- C+ squad to play the Jets, you are going to lose. It's going to be close. You might lose that game. The Rams, who had a full team, lost to the Jets in LA. So, we can all point they did just lose to the Jets, but the Jets will win a couple games. And guess what? Jacksonville beat the Colts. So, stupid things have happened. Stupid things will happen. Stupid things will probably happen this weekend, but go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Zach, you are invited back to this podcast anytime you like. Go ahead, Kyle. I want to hear what you say because I'm currently changing my clothes into.
You're not gonna like what I have to say, Thomas. I agree. Okay, first of all, I want to point out that I hope with everything in me that Myles Garrett comes out here and knocks Mason Rudolph's head square off of his fucking shoulders. I hope the Steelers get embarrassed, and I hope it leads to a further skid, and they flame out in the first round of the playoffs, and we never have to hear from Steelers fans ever again, even though we will. But
this guy.
Here's the thing about the Browns, man. I have seen nothing from the Browns over my entire lifetime, and I'm at the point where this, as I said on the podcast earlier, well, the most recent podcast, not the one we just recorded, but as I said on that podcast, this is a playoff game for the Browns, and this is an important big game, and I have seen nothing but shrinking from the big moment from the Browns over my entire lifetime. So
you might have to find yourself a new partner.
I'll step up. I don't care what you say about the Ravens. I'll probably agree.
I'm gonna predict 17 Mason Rudolph sacks and 4 James Conner touchdowns.
What?
I'm done. I'm leaving. Bye. Bye.
What?
I gotta go to work. I'll see you. Bye. Nice talking to you, Zach.
Yeah, you too, Thomas. Man, you made him quit. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I do think it'll be close because the defense of Pittsburgh will always come out to play. Although people seem to forget that a similar Ben Roethlisberger-less team came out against RG3 and the Ravens in 2019, and they lost that game by 18. So
yeah,
I don't. But that was with Duck Hodges. Mason Rudolph provides a whole nother. No, I'm just kidding. But I do think Cleveland wins this game by at least a touchdown.
I think the Browns win this game. I think Kevin Stefanski will keep the team focused Sunday.
But this is a way for Cleveland to knock off that Kyle Phelps stereotype stigma that he has with the Browns, that they're a team destined for failure. I'm hoping that they're not a team destined for failure. But again, if they lose, then I will be on Kyle's train and say they're just destined for failure. Now, I will say
I don't believe in Jesus.
Vegas has Cleveland as 9-point favorites.
Yep.
Going into this game, and the Bengals are 13-point underdogs. So, Kyle, I think this should be your upset of the week if you're going with Cincinnati.
It is actually. It is. That is my upset of the week.
I forgot to mention mine because we already did that game, but mine is Chicago. I am going with Chicago as my upset of the week.
All right. I'll make sure to do that editing.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So there you go.
Bye, y'all.
See you, man.
So
the clean mouth with a happy mouth.
Let's go ahead and you and me, Zach. Let's go ahead and finish this up with. Well, no, we got a whole lot of more games to talk about, but
we do.
We can go ahead and move on to. Let's see. I guess let's go back and finish the NFC. Let's talk about the Seahawks and 49ers. You got a 49ers team here that is scrappy and has been playing kind of up and down, but I mean, like the Seahawks are fighting for potential number 1 seed. So
I think the Seahawks win this game 23-13, but I think they, even though it's only a 10-point game, I think it will be consistently a 10-point game. I think it'll be, or I should say, it'll be consistently like not within one score. I think at one point it'll be 20-3, and then San Francisco will sneak in a touchdown, and then Seattle will get a field goal, and then like they might get a field. I think it'll be like around a lower scoring, because 23 is kind of like meh. It'll be around that meh score line for Seattle because their offense isn't really overpowering, but I think that their defense will step up and kind of stymie their San Francisco's offense. So I'm looking for Seattle to win this game.
I fully agree with you. I don't think this is going to be an interesting game to watch at all. Like so
I
many
will
of
not
the Seahawks 49ers games have been over the years. But just this one, I don't know, the 49ers, I think they got their big upset out of the way last week against the Cardinals. Yeah. I don't see them doing it again against the Seahawks with especially a Seahawks team fighting for a potential shot at that number 1 seed that, as I mentioned earlier, I think the Packers are going to beat the Bears, so I don't think they're going to get it anyway. But they're still going to fight for it. And then and then on the flip side, not on the flip side, on Thomas's end, because Thomas did send me his predictions on this. He also picked the Seahawks, so I don't think there's any confidence for anybody going into the.
And I put 15 points on my confidence pool, which is the second highest amount of confidence you can have on a team. So. I think Seattle wins this game.
Yeah,
and an uninteresting affair, not a rating stopper for sure.
Not at all. You're coming at us with a bunch of numbers, by the way. Like we're picking who's gonna win and lose, and you're coming at us with like numbers and like
Well, the numbers was just to let you know like how confident I am in this game.
Oh no, I mean I like it. Add some color.
Oh yeah, I know it's just a pick 'em, but I like throwing science behind my predictions for sure.
Fair enough. It makes for better listening, I think. So next game in the NFC West, we got the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams. Um,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this is the reason why I was against having 7 teams in the playoffs. You have 2 teams that are going to, if the winner of this game could pretend, if Chicago loses out, the winner of these 2 games the winner of this game could either get knocked out or, go into the playoffs. And this is the reason why there shouldn't be 7 teams, because when either of these 2 teams make the playoffs, they will lose. So I mean, they're going to probably go up against, well, you know what? Maybe not, because you're going to have one of these teams might sneak into that 5 seed who gets to play, the NFC East. So maybe they sneak in a win there. I think Seattle, comes in with the 3 seed. So I think if the Rams win, they get the 6 seed. But I think this is why there shouldn't be 7 teams in the playoffs right now. I mean, I think 7 is such a weird number. I get you wanted to keep a 5, so you didn't add 8 teams in. But, I just think it's a crap show of a game. I do, however, I'm going with the Rams on this one. I think every time I've picked Arizona to win, they have disappointed me. I think the Rams get this win, and it's going to be off the run game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I pretty much agree with you on this one. I will say, as far as the playoff format goes, I tend to agree with you. I don't think I'd be against 7 teams in the playoffs, because I kind of like this whole idea where there's one playoff bye and you have to be the best team in the conference to get that playoff bye. You can't sneak in and be the second best team and still get a playoff bye. I kind of like that format, although I think you kind of need more teams in the NFL if you're going to have 14 teams in the playoffs. It's like at that point, when there's 32 teams, that means half of the teams are making the postseason, which is just kind of like when it was only 12 teams, it kind of felt like making the playoffs. Like it's like when the Bengals made the playoffs 5 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though we lost all those playoff games, I still felt like, hey, we're one of the top teams in the NFL. That's not so bad. But if you're going to be the number 14 team in the NFL, that's not interesting.
And that's what Kyle, that's you hit the nail on the head. I like the fact that only one team gets a bye. I love that. I think that it makes games more meaningful in the end. I mean, this year it didn't really work out for the AFC side because Kansas City just dominated. But I mean, for the Packers, they're gunning for a 1 seed and playing their starters. They might not be doing that if they got the 2 seed and didn't care. But I think you're right, Kyle. You hit the nail on the head. I think when you had 12 teams make it, there was such an exclusivity. It was like baseball. I mean, baseball this year, I understand why they did it. Whatever. We're not talking about baseball, but like the same with baseball. Like you made the playoffs. It was like, holy cow, we made the playoffs. Like you needed 90 wins. You needed 10 or 11 wins to make it, unless for some reason the NFC East doesn't count. But yeah, it was something special about that, making the playoffs. And I think if you're going to keep adding more and more teams, it becomes less special to make the playoffs. You make the playoffs, it's like, all right, we better win this thing, or who cares? So
it's like, if you're going to do that, then you need to expand the number of teams.
Expand the league.
But
yeah,
then, because there's such a perfect balance right now, it's just kind of like, are you just going to add another 16 teams to keep that balance? I mean, that seems like oversaturation.
Right. So I think, and the NBA making the playoffs doesn't mean a lick, you know what I mean? Like, because over half the teams make it. So, I mean, it's about winning in the NBA. And the NFL making the playoffs is like a cornerstone in which you build off of. Like, with Thomas's Browns, making the playoffs, it's like, okay, we got over that hump. Now we can start doing this, this, and this. Now, you keep adding more teams, you make the playoffs, and that can give you a false sense of security, especially among ownership and fans. Ownership can throw that out there as the 14th best team in the league. They can throw out there, well, we made the playoffs. Okay, you made the playoffs, but like so does everybody else at this point, So, gives teams a false sense. But
Right.
Whatever.
I will say though, on that note about the Browns being like, oh, they made the playoffs, so that's something for them to build off of. If what I'm saying happens, then the Browns are the number 7 seed. So then you've still got that kind of you've got that issue that actually I was talking about when we wrapped up the last podcast. It's just kind of like, if the Browns fail to win this game, even if they make the playoffs at that point, it just kind of feels like same old Browns again. But because they made the playoffs, it's gonna, like you said, perhaps lull them into a false sense of security, which is, I think, a shame because I think Kevin Stefanski was a really good hire for them.
Great hire.
Yeah, there were so many issues in that organization that maybe head coach fixes it, maybe he doesn't.
Their last couple years with front office and coaching personnel decisions have been great. Freddie Kitchens, they thought was their guy, and they dropped him. Most teams wouldn't do that. Most teams would have Freddie Kitchens back, just because your thought process is like, well, he just needed to implement it. No, he's not the guy. Get out. They did great on that one. I mean, I'm still on the side of they still should have hired Greg Williams off that interim job 2 years ago. But
you say that, but Greg Williams has been part of 2 winless seasons now. Now the Jets have won games, but that's only after Greg Williams got fired.
Greg Williams was in tank mode, and you can't tell me otherwise.
But then why is he tanking so much in the NFL then?
Yeah, I honestly but that was I thought that 2 years ago. I mean, if you would ask me now, obviously Kevin Stefanski's the guy.
Yeah.
He clearly is the guy. I am definitely on that side for sure. So, whatever. I'm keeping him. So we'll stick with that.
But I guess we should probably get back on topic a little bit. Let's talk about the NFC South. We got the Falcons, who almost upset the Chiefs, which was I would have been thrilled if they had done that. I would have the amount of showboating I would have done over that. You'd forget about it.
That would totally mess up this week's games because Kansas City would have been an easy pick this week. Yeah, because they would have to still play, and Buffalo would be playing starters, so that would hurt Miami. It would have been because Buffalo would have had a shot at this 1 seed here. It would have been dangerous. Would have been very dangerous. And remember, people forget Buffalo would have had that chance at the 1 seed this year if DeAndre Hopkins didn't happen. So people forget about that one. They lost a game on a Hail Mary.
I didn't forget about that because Kyler Murray is my fantasy quarterback this year.
Yeah,
I took down an undefeated team with that Hail Mary.
Oh, congratulations. So what are we looking at? Which game are we looking at first?
Right now we're on the Buccaneers and Falcons.
Okay. Tampa Bay, from what I've heard, is playing for seeding. I looked into it before I made my pick, and they are playing for seeding. Because I think they want as many games in Tampa Bay as possible. They don't want to have to go cold weather. So they are playing their starters. So based off that, I think I'm going to stick with Tampa Bay, even though Atlanta, of course, being a divisional opponent. The NFC South is one of those things where, the old adage, divisional opponents are always going to be tough regardless of how good they are. The NFC South embodies that, to a T. But I think Tampa Bay gets the W.
By the way, I need to backpedal a little bit because I forgot to announce Thomas's pick on the last one. But on the two NFC South games, Thomas picked I did say he picked the Seahawks with us, but with the Cardinals and Rams, he picked the Cardinals. So
he did pick the Cardinals. Okay.
He disagreed with us on that one. But
anyway, Kyler Murray is an X factor. Go ahead.
Back to the Buccaneers and Falcons. We all seem to agree on the Buccaneers winning this game. For me, I don't know. I thought the Falcons showed some heart last week, but I think they also showed that they're just not really a good enough football team when it matters. And that is one thing that Tom Brady is very good at being the right guy when it matters. So like you said, with the Buccaneers starters playing, I don't see much of a path to victory at all.
And that's the thing. I feel like Tom Brady led team and the Atlanta Falcons are like the anti of each other. Whereas Atlanta Falcons will go balls to the wall for 3.5 quarters and then blow it at the end. Whereas if we've seen Tom Brady slander, I don't know how you guys feel about Tom Brady. And I mean, Tom Brady is the guy who can afford to play bad for 3 quarters and then he turns it on when it matters.
Yep.
So I mean, we saw it in the Super Bowl. That's for sure.
Super Bowls.
We've seen it in a couple Super Bowls for Tom. So yeah, I Tampa Bay.
All right. So next on the docket, we got the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers. What are your thoughts on this?
I haven't heard much about what the Saints are trying to do. As far as I know, they are playing for the 1 seed because I believe if Green Bay loses and New Orleans wins, they win the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen, I could be wrong here. That's just from what I've heard. That's why Green Bay is going all out because I think it's New Orleans who's at the 2. So I think New Orleans does get the win here, but I think with Carolina, they definitely have some things they can build off of. But that starts with quarterback for them. But yeah, I think New Orleans gets the win here.
Okay. I think. First of all, Thomas agrees with you. He thinks the Saints are going to win this game as well. I think the Panthers are going to win this game because I think the Panthers have more in them than they've really been showing this year. I think all year I've been picking them a lot more often than they've been winning because I think the Panthers, while they may lack talent in certain areas, I think they're I think they got a very good coach in Matt Rule. And I
agree.
You got. I think Teddy Bridgewater is good enough at quarterback for them to maybe not like be a playoff team, or maybe not for them to build off of and have like a long-term successful career with. But I think he's good enough for them to get some wins here and there. And is Drew Brees playing in this game?
Yes, I believe he is active, and he will be on pace to start. He started last week. And they are going to trot him out there for the 1 seed. They want the bye.
So then I'm not super confident in my pick on this one, but I don't think I'd be super confident in the Saints either.
Very true. And the line's only 6.5, so it can go either way.
So I'm going to pick the Panthers, but I will say if I'm wrong about this one and the Saints win, I won't be that surprised. Obviously, the Saints really should the Saints should be the favorite here. I think the Panthers are due for an upset. I don't 5-11 just seems like a wrong kind of record for them.
Yeah, their defense has been, hit or miss. They have very good targets. I think, even without Christian McCaffrey, their 2 wide receivers, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson especially is having a heck of a year. He's topped over 1,000 yards this year. He's been phenomenal. And plus he leads the league in targets. So obviously he knows how to get open. So with a solid quarterback there, I mean, Robbie Anderson can turn into a All-Pro next year. DJ Moore, of course, Maryland guy, so I always have respect for Maryland players like Stephon Diggs and DJ Moore. He's turning into a nice little target for them. And of course, when Christian McCaffrey gets healthy, he's going to obviously be solid. So look out for Carolina in the future, but I think in the now, New Orleans has got it.
All right. So that'll do it for the NFC teams then. Let's go ahead and move back to the AFC, where we already did some of these teams, but we still got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 5 games left to go, it looks like. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one that I see here, which is the Dolphins and the Bills. So the Dolphins fighting for a playoff spot, but they could easily make the playoffs without beating the Bills. And then the Bills, I believe, fighting for playoff seeding, but are they? Let's see. Are they fighting? They're not fighting for the number 1 seed, right? Because the Chiefs have already wrapped that up.
Chiefs have it. So from what I've seen on the internet, they have kind of played reaction ball to what the Steelers are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously if Steelers and Bills both lose, Bills get the 2 due to the win in week 14, I believe that was the week 14 win over the Steelers are proven to be that tiebreaker for the 2 seed. So they would at least have 2 games at home if they could, get some wins. I believe they played reaction ball, and they are going to sit Josh Allen. Josh Allen will not be featured in this game. So that makes me want to lean towards Miami in this one. However, Ryan Fitzpatrick, it just came up on my phone while we were doing the podcast. Ryan Fitzpatrick is out due to close contact. He cannot be activated. He cannot play. So obviously, just like in Oakland, Las Vegas, I should say, when Tua was playing terribly and they brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick as kind of that like 8th inning, 9th inning reliever, as Brian Flores calls it, can't do that this week. So if Tua's struggling, that's your guy. So I'm still going to go Miami on this
one. All right. Well, first of all, Thomas agrees with you. Thomas is going Miami. I am going with the Bills on this one. And it's just, it's quite simply because actually I saw that breaking news too about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I thought he'd actually tested positive. I didn't.
Is that what it said? I just know he's out. I didn't see what it said. I kind of like perused it on my watch. Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm going off of memory right now.
I didn't want to spread false rumors.
He is definitely out because of COVID for one reason or another. And that, I think, is going to be the downfall of the Dolphins. Because, if Josh Allen isn't playing, that's definitely big for the Bills. But I think the Bills have a really good offensive scheme going. I think that's part of why I think Josh Allen has been so good with the Bills.
I agree.
Partially because I think he's a really good quarterback. I really liked him coming out of college. But I never thought he was going to be the type of guy who could really go create an MVP season out of nothing. I think was Brian Daboll, that's his name, right?
Yeah, OC.
Yeah, I think Brian Daboll has been really making Josh Allen into from this, from this good quarterback to this, a really elite quarterback. And I think a lot of it has to do with scheme. So I think any quarterback that has maybe similar skills to Josh Allen into that Bills offense, and it would run similarly. I definitely think that going up against that Dolphins defense, it could definitely maybe not look like the same Bills defense that we've been used to seeing, but because Ryan Fitzpatrick will not be playing, and because man, Tua makes me sad because before the rise of Joe Burrow last year in college, I was all on the Bengals should tank for Tua train because I was like, oh, Tua Tagovailoa, I think he's going to be a really good quarterback, and he is just not. He hasn't been horrible, but he has not looked like anything all that. There have been a lot more highs than there have been lows, but the lows have looked really bad.
We've been spoiled this year with the rookie quarterback. I think we all expected him to be Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, and he's a rookie. Not everyone can be Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow.
I also expected Justin Herbert to be a bust, to be honest with you. So
you and the rest of the world. I think even half the Chargers organization thought that.
Yeah. Which is funny because apparently both the Dolphins and the Bengals had people in their building who preferred Herbert over the guys that we picked.
And Herbert, and that's it. Josh Allen and Herbert kind of have similar stories with their draft pattern, as you're drafting based on the potential rather than the production. Like Josh Allen's production in college was not very good. Justin Herbert's production in college was great his junior year, but his last year was meh. So,
my issue with Justin Herbert was his decision making in college. Yeah. I felt like it, and it has gotten better in the NFL, but I will say that I think he's overcoming his decision making a lot.
I will say that, one of his big plays this year, because I had Keenan Allen on my fantasy team, when he played the New York Jets, Keenan Allen had 16 catches for whatever. But one of the touchdown catches that Keenan Allen caught was this one in triple coverage that he fit in perfectly. That was a terrible decision, but it ended up being amazing because he ended up, putting it in the only spot
did it.
that you could. But that's still a trash decision. So sometimes plays bail you out from the terrible decision making. But I've seen some plays where Justin Herbert has not made the best.
Right. Well, Anyway, moving back to the Dolphins, I think Tua, well, I do think he has potential, and I think, like you said, we've been spoiled by rookie quarterback play this year, which leads me to sit here and say like, oh, Tua hasn't been that good, but he's been fine for a rookie. So like, I mean, I definitely think that he's the kind of guy who the Dolphins can try to build around in the future, but it's going to be kind of like like an Andy Dalton situation, where it's like you can win with this guy, but you're going to have to put a really good team around him, and you're going to have to accept that he's going to make some mistakes and maybe have about the talent of an average quarterback. So ultimately, right now, I definitely don't think Tua is there. I think that whole switching back and forth between Fitzpatrick and Tua, I think long term isn't really good for Tua, but who knows? Maybe it works out. I don't know. But they can't do that this week, and so I think the Dolphins playing with Tua just don't look like a team that can really beat.
I can see that. Good. I can see that. Tua might have that. Like, I think his thought process, and me being an educator, when I first was like a rookie educator, like rookie school counselor, rookie thing, you always had like a supervisor teacher who was in the room. And then sometimes the supervisor teacher would leave the room and you'd be like, oh crap, what do we do? Tua's in that situation this week where he kind of had that security blanket. He goes, okay, you know what? My defense is good, but if I'm terrible, they can bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Here, Tua knows that he's got to be the guy to do it. So, and that could be tough for Tua. I think what Tua does have going for him, though, is that his mistakes are more incompletions and taking sacks over turnovers. He doesn't turn the ball over much. His rookie mistakes come from holding the ball too long and, throwing it, and not having the accuracy needed to hit certain targets.
That's true. That's true. So next game we got is probably the first time I've seen a truly inconsequential end of the year Patriots game in my life.
Yeah, what's that about?
Well, actually, I take that back. I was born in '92, so I'm sure when I was little, there were plenty of games that the Patriots played at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm a '90 guy, so.
Do what?
I was born in '90, and I'll just say, like, pretty much most of my, coherent life, New England's been a good team. They made the Super Bowl in '96, and I think that was the first Super Bowl I watched.
Yeah. So. I can't remember. I think that might have been the first Super Bowl I watched, but it might have been the '97 one.
I remember that's why I like Brett Favre.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and me both. But anyway, this Brett Favre is not playing for the New York Jets. Instead, it's Sam Darnold, and he has looked a little bit better lately. But is it going to be enough to beat the Patriots and Cam Newton, and more importantly, Bill Belichick? What do you think?
People have a very short-term memory. People forget that the New York Jets last year were 8-8. They just went 6-2 in their last 8 games, and then it all fell apart. And I think partly it fell apart because they had to put in Joe Flacco for 3 games, even though Joe Flacco played well. Sam Darnold getting hurt. They've had a lot of injuries. This game was really tough for me to pick. I think Cam Newton, from a quarterback perspective, is done, which stinks because, me living in North Carolina for 5 years while I went to college, Cam Newton obviously was big, for Carolina for a long time.
Where did you go?
I went to Gardner-Webb, so it's just right out. Yeah, it's an hour away from where the Panthers play. It's an hour from Charlotte. So, like, Cam Newton's Cam Newton. And plus, it's big college football country, so Cam Newton has been, in my head for years. And I liked Cam Newton coming out of college. But I think right now, I'm picking New England because of the defense. I think the defense is going to play for pride. Bill Belichick and the New York Jets. I would say Bill Belichick hates the New York Jets the most out of any AFC East team, and he's not going to let any AFC East team. He's not going to let any New York Jets team beat him.
All right. So you say you're picking the Patriots?
I am picking the New England Patriots. Yep.
So, wow. Okay. Thomas picked the Jets. Have to ask him what's up.
You know what? And I think that was more of a salty pick, as in they better win to make me look better, kind of thing. But
yeah, maybe. I got to agree with you on this one. I will say you mentioned something about Joe Flacco kind of putting the Jets off their balance earlier. I actually felt early this year that when Joe Flacco was playing, that was actually the point where I was starting to be like, hey, maybe the Jets won't go 0-16 because Joe Flacco's out here looking like a competent quarterback. And Sam Darnold has looked all right the last couple of weeks, but for a little while there, he was looking pretty ass.
I do think out of the five, we always look at the 2018 draft class as like, the big five, even though Josh Rosen, hasn't played a game in 2 years. We still look at him as the big five here. And, we always look at Baker, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold. Out of those four, Josh Rosen doesn't count, but as of those four, Sam Darnold has looked the worst. Sam Darnold has progressed the least. Sam Darnold is also in the worst situation.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't the biggest out of all of those quarterbacks coming out of that particular draft class. I felt like I didn't really like Josh Rosen, but I also didn't like Sam Darnold.
Well, Sam Darnold made his name off that Penn State bowl game, the Rose Bowl. I mean, he had a heck of a Rose Bowl. But then again, I hate looking at that because Jadeveon Clowney got drafted first overall because of that game against Michigan.
Yeah.
Malcolm Butler is considered a good corner because of that one play he made in 2014 in the Super Bowl. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people just ride that one game, one play, and make a career out of it. And I think Sam Darnold got drafted that high because of that one game.
I think so. That's a little bit how I felt about Chase Young. I know it was more than just one game, but it felt like it was only like a couple of games here and there that Chase Young really took over when he played at Ohio State, and then
But
it
he
was
took
just
over
a
when
lot
it
of the
counted.
big ones he just kind of like didn't show up in at all.
Yeah, the Clemson one definitely comes to mind.
And that actually kind of reminds me of the way he's kind of been in Washington. It's like there have been some, really impressive games from him, but there's also been those games where it just feels like he wasn't even there.
I think that's rookie play for you, especially on defense. I think offense, you see more like, you're going to see the Joe Burrows, the Justin Jeffersons. You're going to see that on offense. What you're not going to see is, nobody talks about the offensive tackles, and nobody really talks about like the defenders unless, they're having a big game. Like you don't really hear an announcer say much like, I haven't seen Chase Young today. Like you might hear that once or twice, but like then on the next play, Chase Young gets a sack or Chase Young able to push the line or something. Really, it's really hard to evaluate defensive rookies, in my opinion.
Can be, but Chase Young's neither here nor there because we already talked about Washington. Back on track, let's talk about the Titans and Texans. And boy, those Texans just do not look good. I mean, maybe I'm a little biased because I've watched the Bengals look like ass all year, and then we come in and beat the Texans. So like I'm like, God, if the Bengals can beat them, then maybe then what the fuck even are they? But I'll tell you this right now: the Texans just look down and out. I mean, when I watched them play against the Bengals, Deshaun Watson looked like he cared, and that was about it. Deshaun Watson was the only reason that they were in that game.
With the Texans, the only thing I can think of is thank God they have a franchise quarterback because they don't have top draft picks. They don't have anything to trade. They don't have a defense. They don't have an offensive line. They don't have a running back. They don't have a coach. They don't have a flipping GM. I mean, they have nothing. And other than a quarterback, which, personnel-wise is the most important position on the field. So thank goodness they have that. But they don't have anything, and it just stinks for the guy who's going to inherit that job. But, you saw J.J. Watt's press conference, I'm sure, after the Bengals game saying, like, nobody on this team seems to give a crap. We need to fight harder. And honestly, that J.J. Watt, if he suits up this week, I don't know. I don't know. He probably will suit up this week. If he does suit up this week, I could see this being his last game as a Houston Texan. I think they're going to try to get some draft picks back that what's-his-face, Bill O'Brien, gave away. And if you're going to give away DeAndre Hopkins, how do you not get a first? How do you not get a first for that? So, they got a running back who hasn't been good since 2015. Shout out David Johnson. So, I mean, but in this game, if we're looking at this game, I have Tennessee finishing the job and getting the division this year. They're a team that's the times they've made the playoff, they've made it as a wild card, so they're going to want a home game. They have fans coming in Nashville. They've had fans for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to games. So I think they're going to want a home game, and I think they're going to use Derrick Henry to just run over that terrible Houston defense. Look for Henry to have a 165 yards or more this game.
Oh, that'll definitely be a bounce back from last week when he was playing against that Packers defense and then couldn't even put up 100 yards on the ground.
I'll tell you, that's how they always get you. Like the Jets had one of the worst running defenses coming into it, and they hold Nick Chubb to 40 yards, 30, whatever it was. So, I mean, that's just I hate looking at rankings when you're looking at a team like, oh, we should beat this team. They have the 30. I hate looking at that. I do.
Well, that's true. I'm just saying, I've watched a couple of those Packers games here and there, and every time that I watch them, it seems like the running back is just pooping all over them. But
exactly,
I turned on. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did turn on that Packers Titans game because I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see what Derrick Henry does this week. I can't wait to see him make somebody look like Earl Thomas, and then he just didn't do anything the whole game.
I just want to shout out because you said Earl Thomas. We don't claim him. We didn't even claim him last year. We thought he was garbage since he came here. So good riddance.
I always thought that was kind of a weird pickup. It seemed like a typical smart Ravens pickup because it was it was a veteran free agent who was really good at one point. But then I was also like, he doesn't really seem like he fits. It almost seemed like a Madden move,
One of the Ravens things that they've always done, even when they've had bad teams or even when they've played bad, the effort was always there. The effort's always there. Even in the Joe Flacco years, okay, Joe's having a dud, but then the defense would step up and destroy people and keep us in the game. Earl Thomas never showed me effort. He gave up on a lot of plays. He gave out the Nick Chubb run. Remember Thomas talked about the Nick Chubb run in Baltimore last year. He pulled up, and when they asked him about it in the interview, said, I didn't want to hurt my hamstring. Okay, well, if you don't have hamstring problems, why do you are afraid of hurting it? Make the effort. So, yeah, just not a very good sign.
Yeah. So
I got Tennessee in this one.
Little bit of breaking news that literally just happened that I'm kind of salty we don't have Thomas here for, but he actually just texted me about this. Denzel Ward has been placed on the COVID-19 list as well. So wow. I'm going to go ahead and double down on picking the Steelers to win the game.
I'm sticking with it. I'm going with Browns. I think if it was Ben Roethlisberger, it might make a difference. If it was Lamar Jackson, it would definitely make a difference, as it did 3 weeks ago when Lamar Jackson got to face the Denzel Wardless defense. Shout out Hollywood Brown. No, I'm sticking with Cleveland.
All right. So we got 2 games left, I think. Let's finish up with the AFC South real quick and talk about the Colts and Jaguars.
There's nothing really to talk about here. Go ahead. I'll let you go first with this one. I mean, the tank is complete for Jacksonville, which is good. Indianapolis is gonna be pissed about 2 things. One, they're gonna be pissed that the only win came against them for Jacksonville in week 1. And number 2, they're gonna be pissed at last week. I think they get the dub here. It's a game in Indianapolis. I believe they are allowed to have fans in there. I think you're going to see a big day from Phil Rivers.
Okay. All right. I'm picking a lot of upsets this week. And this is
let me just mention that if Miami, Cleveland, and Indianapolis all win, and the Ravens all win, I think Indianapolis is the odd team out.
I think so.
Yep.
Although I don't think it's going to matter because I don't know. I believe in the Jaguars this week because I don't believe in Phillip Rivers. I've rarely I mean, like, people talk about him having a Hall of Fame career, and okay, maybe, but like, it seems like Philip Rivers so rarely gets it done when he needs to, and that's not necessarily. Uh, in his defense, he's had to be the only one carrying that Chargers team and now this Colts team for so long. Now the Colts have a really good defense, but that really good defense just let the Steelers come back from a 24-7 deficit. The Jaguars are locked into that number one spot. If there is some sort of tanking going on right now, they don't need to do it anymore. So I just this one has less to do with me believing in the Jaguars and has more to do with me not believing in the Colts.
Kyle, I agree 100% with your Philip Rivers analysis. People talk about him having a Hall of Fame career, but for me, I think it's more about the longevity of his career, that he's played at an average level for so long. I mean, you see a lot of average quarterbacks, and I can't believe I'm saying this. You see a lot of average quarterbacks like not be able to play for that long because they're average, and then they dip to below average. Whereas Philip Rivers has been that solid, good, not great, not elite, not special, good quarterback for so long that's why people talk about him for being in a Hall of Fame. But I'm with you straight up, man. Like, yeah, the guy may have some fourth quarter comebacks under his belt, but when it came playoff time and crunch time situations to win big games, the guy's a flop. But I think he has a big week this week. I think Jacksonville can't stop anyone. I think we could trot out a flag football team here and maybe get a touchdown out of it. Like they can't stop it. I don't actually think that, but I just don't think they can stop anyone.
That's fair. I mean, they did beat him earlier this year.
True.
So you never know, but
they are starting Mike Glennon.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They won't be. Gardner Minshew is not playing, right?
He is not. It is going to be Mike Glennon.
Yeah. So I mentioned this earlier when Mike Glennon got his first start, but Mike Glennon has been this like weirdly. He's there's this phenomenon that happens in the NFL where like some backup quarterback ends up like starting and then like gets all this hype because he did kind of good with the team that he was filling in for, and then ends up going on a long ass weird career because of like some kind of good stuff that he did. And Mike Glennon is one of those names. You got guys like Brock Osweiler, you got Nick Foles, you got AJ McCarron. You might end up having Brandon Allen.
Josh McCown, Ryan Fitzpatrick, although Fitzpatrick, on and off has been worth some of the hype sometimes. Fitzpatrick has always been good for 3-game stretches, yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Glennon is another one of those guys who Jeff George, Jeff George. Talk about an old school throwback there, but Mike Glennon was one of those guys in Tampa Bay, I believe, right? Who is kind of like he like. You heard he was starting, you're like, oh, well, they're terrible. And then he ends up doing some good stuff. And it's like, wow, where did this Mike Glennon guy come from? But since that happened, he like, teams have been like, wow, Mike Glennon, he might be able to be the savior of or at least a good transitional quarterback. And he rarely is even that. But I do think that he's got some talent. And like I said, if the Jaguars catch the Colts sleeping, Mike Glennon might be good enough to put the Colts to sleep.
True. I mean, and I just want to take this time to say that Matt Schaub is still in the NFL. So, I just wanted to let everyone know that. Shout out to Matt Schaub, but that's another one of the quarterbacks that have made a career based on a couple of good things he's done. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yep. This is another one that's, I think,
nothing.
I could call my big upset of the week, but just because I think it's got to be the Ravens and Bengals. If I'm going to call the Bengals on that one, it's got to be.
If you're going to say your team's going to win and you're 13.5 underdogs at home, you better call that the upset of your week.
Yeah, it probably is just based on the lines alone. So we got one game left to talk about, and
oh yeah, doozy.
Ew. I don't even know if I'm going to watch this game, to be honest with you.
I will probably find out the score of this game when they do their 2-minute segment on Sunday Night Football.
Right.
because I will be watching the Sunday night football game. I believe that's between Washington and Philly. I will be watching that just to see if Washington can sneak the win. But I have a lot of Redskin friends, as you can probably guess, just because being in the area, you got Philly and Washington right here, so you got a lot of those fans around.
Yeah.
Even Pittsburgh fans live here all over.
Yeah.
But Las Vegas lost a heartbreaker, and for about a 16-hour period, everyone who was a Ravens fan declared their ever-loving hatred for the Raiders because they couldn't hold Miami down, which made the game against the New York Giants a little more stressful than we have liked, because we kind of knew we were going to take care of the Giants and couldn't take care of other teams probably weren't going to take care of. Shout out Jets, thank God. But Vegas, I think they're going to want to end the season on a high note. I think Denver literally has no offense. Like, their offense just isn't fun to watch. You know how you watch bad teams, even like Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. Like, they're 4-10-1, but like with Joe Burrow, they're at least a fun offense to watch. You would tune in to watch Joe Burrow. I even tune in sometimes to watch Daniel fucking Jones run around for an 80-yard score and trip over his own feet. But Denver just has an offense. Yeah, Denver has an offense that not only are they bad, but they're just not fun to watch. Like, when Kansas City and Denver matched up on Thursday Night Football, like, what the fuck am I watching this for? I get it's close, but, like, just call me when Kansas City has the ball. I'm going to go Raiders on this one. Their offense actually is fun to watch to an extent, because former Raven Darren Waller is a monster. The guy just has a monster.
I was wondering where I heard that name before.
Yeah, he used to be a Raven. Used to be a receiver, not a tight end, and he had some drug issues, so we didn't like that. So we shipped him off to Oakland, at the time Oakland, and now he's at the drug capital of the world in Las Vegas. So I think that Derek Carr gets the win here. I think they're going to want to end the season on a high note and just give John Gruden something to work with. This is year 2 of 10 now for John Gruden.
Right.
So I think Vegas gets the dub here.
Yeah.
Not too confident, but
I don't think a lot of people criticize that 10-year deal for Gruden. I don't know if I'm completely against the idea, because, there are some obvious issues right there with John Gruden and the way he's kind of doing things. At the same time, it's just kind of like, I have tended to find that the most successful teams in the NFL are the ones who can make it work with a guy, instead of constantly like doing like the Browns did for years and constantly firing a guy after 1 year, firing a guy after 2 years. It's the one reason why I think there's some redeeming qualities in the Bengals front office, because at least the Bengals front office, for all of their sins over the years, have been patient enough to see if they actually have something with a guy before firing him after 1 year. And it's like, like with Freddie Kitchens, if you know he's not the guy, then fine. But if you're doing that year after year after year after year, something's up with your hiring process. If you're constantly
the Hugh Jackson hire, that guy should never be a head coach.
I was one of the few Bengals fans who was kind of happy to see him go, because I always kind of felt like our offense was more talented than what Hugh Jackson was getting out of our offense. Now, they were very good at times, but I thought they could have really been, with all of those weapons, I thought they really could have been like elite.
He always put up 24 points against us, so I didn't mind that he left.
He got his start with you guys, didn't
he? Hugh Jackson. I don't know about Hugh Jackson. I do know Marvin Lewis was our defensive coordinator during the Super Bowl year in 2000.
He got his start in Pittsburgh. Hugh Jackson, I believe, was your running back coach.
Hugh, yeah. I mean, if you look at that coaching tree, though, and I'm about to look that up for you. If you look at that coaching tree from that Super Bowl team, I mean, anyone who was anyone is from that team. It just seems like, it's just crazy. If I'm looking at this, he 2008, 2009, he was our quarterback coach. But he was actually with you guys in 2004 to 2006 as your wide receiver coach, which would probably explain the rise of Chad Johnson.
No, yeah, I knew he was our wide, but I thought he had been with you guys previous to that.
Well, then he moved over to us for from 2008 to 2009. He was our quarterback coach when Joe Flacco was a rookie in second year. No comment because Joe Flacco, he got us to the playoffs. He was steady. So, I mean, he wasn't good, but he wasn't bad,
A lot of Bengals fans were hoping that the Bengals would sign Joe Flacco to be Joe Burrow's backup this year, and I'm not mad about Brandon Allen though.
No, Joe Flacco's a good backup, but Brandon Allen's doing the do, man. Brandon Allen, I think, wants a job somewhere, man. I mean, this is a guy who's going to want a job somewhere.
You see, I think what I was worried about, I didn't know Brandon Allen was going to be good. I was worried that our backup was Ryan Finley, and I still worry to an extent because we traded up to get Ryan Finley. So I like for all of the maybe some good, some bad things that the coaching staff's done here. I don't know what Zach was thinking, but anyway, getting off topic again. The Raiders and Broncos. You saying you're picking the Raiders?
I am picking the Raiders.
Yeah, Thomas is also picking the Raiders. I'm going to pick the Broncos, which I don't think this one is. I don't really like either of these teams, so I don't really feel like this is a big insane pick for me to make here.
It's not.
I think Drew Lock has shown here and there that he is a good quarterback. Maybe not like. Like obviously if you got the chance to go get like a Trevor Lawrence or something like that, and if you're dead and you go do that. But I don't think that the Broncos should move on from him if they don't have like, a slam dunk as, another option. And I think, I think Drew Lock sometimes that Broncos offense can, like you said, look like nothing. Like why am I even bothering to watch this? But like when he's got a good connection with Tim Patrick going, I think that the Broncos are. I mean, this is a Broncos team that made the Chiefs sweat. I mean, it's not like it's not like they were a popular playoff pick before, like in the off season.
People like Drew Lock coming into the season.
And everything.
I agree with that. People like Drew Lock coming into this season.
Yeah. So, and like right now, maybe it's because I saw the Raiders just look like absolute fools against the first the Jets and then the Dolphins, but I have no confidence in this Raiders team right now.
The Dolphins game does not hurt really at all as much as it did on Saturday night going into Sunday afternoon. Because when obviously when the Raiders won, I thought the Browns were going to take care and the Colts were going to take care of Pittsburgh and they were going to make us sweat. So it's gonna if the Ravens can jump out to a fast start, it'll definitely make the Sunday more enjoyable. Because this past Sunday, even though we were beating the Giants pretty handily, it was definitely a stressful Sunday. I agree with you, man. There's just no winner in that game for sure. But go Vegas, I guess.
All right. Well, so that's it. Actually, that'll do it for all the games we have this week. Appreciate having you on, Zach.
Man, thank you.
You were definitely solid. In the future, we might hit you up again because you were definitely good to have a conversation with.
Please do. I look forward to it.
And unlike most weeks when we have guests on, all three of us actually have wildly different picks. And I'm going to have to look at exactly what the differences are here, but none of our boards look the same at all this week. No, I don't think anybody has any confidence in most of these games. There's a couple of them even then, Thomas thinks the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs, but
I mean, it's tough. Week 17 is always tough just because of who's sitting, who's not sitting, who's playing, who's it's a dangerous game. I always say week 1 and week 17 are the hardest to pick.
Yeah, I don't think there's. Okay, so we all think the Buccaneers are going to beat the Falcons.
Yep.
We all think the Eagles are going to beat Washington.
Yeah.
We all think the Giants are going to beat the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. We all like Seattle.
Yeah, we all like Seattle. So other than that, though, those are the games, and they're all NFC games, by the way. Those are the
Yeah.
games that we all actually agree on. We didn't pick. None of us. We did not have a unanimous decision on any of the AFC games, which kind of surprises me because the NFC is the one that's kind of more competitive, and the AFC is a lot more top heavy. So you would think there would be more consensus on the AFC than the NFC, but I guess
Well,
not.
I think also we have we definitely have some biases going on in the AFC North games for sure.
Well, okay, that's true, but there's only 2 AFC North games though, so
True.
yeah,
But I mean, I think the Indianapolis Jacksonville game was definitely the most interesting that didn't have a unanimous just because you went with Jacksonville.
yeah. Well, like I said, I don't like the Colts at all.
Yeah, it's hard to like the Colts. I mean, as a Baltimore fan, I don't like the Colts for other reasons.
Well, I can imagine that, like that'd be like, well, I mean, quite frankly, I mean, maybe not quite as much on the shady aspect of it, but that'd be like a Browns fan liking the Ravens.
Yeah, we weren't shady about it. The Colts definitely were shady about it. No, that's true. You're right. We going into that, we actually were shady about it. But you know what? At the end of the day,
I meant the Colts were shady.
Oh, Colts.
I don't feel Baltimore was that shady.
Baltimore.
Actually, briefly, I don't know if you remember this. You're a little older than me, so you might. But the originally there was actually a lot of talk about the Bengals moving to Baltimore.
Yep. Yes. But then Art Modell, they wanted a team in Baltimore. The NFL wanted a team in Baltimore. They thought that Baltimore was kind of a staple, which they were. I mean, the Colts were a league staple. Yeah. Colts won a Super Bowl in the Baltimore days. We also lost the Super Bowl. Shout out to Joe Namath. I don't know why I said we, but I guess I referenced the city more than the team name.
Well, I mean, I like the Sacramento Kings, right? I have a little bit of like when I talk about that brief period of time where they were the Cincinnati Royals, I refer to that as we. I'm not even much of a pro basketball guy in the first place.
Yeah, but the problem was that, but the difference with you is that Cincinnati didn't get a team back. You know what I mean? Like, sure. Cincinnati didn't get a return on that, whereas Baltimore got a return on that, and we've won 2 Super Bowls. But yeah, I think the Colts, the whole Colts thing, like, if you ask some Ravens fans, even including myself, I actually have I would rather see the Steelers win a Super Bowl before the Colts. Like when the Colts won in 2006, that was awful. Like I hate that. Like no. Yeah. Never. And the fact that the Steelers and Colts won back to back at that point, in 05 and 06, and then the Steelers won again in 08. I didn't have a good high school life. Yeah, I would rather see. I would love to see the Colts lose. I would love, but I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I see. I'm definitely not picking this game. This one's just a feeling that I have about the Colts, but I do have to admit that part of me doesn't like the Colts. Not obviously for none of the same reasons that you have, but growing up in Cincinnati. The Colts are a very geographically close team. And so there was a lot of kids growing up who, they thought they were just so, cool and cute and edgy and clever. And they're like, I'm a Colts fan, just to get on people's nerves. And because they thought that it was different and interesting, even though it wasn't different or interesting. However, the Jaguars, on the other hand, I've always kind of had a soft spot for him because I always kind of felt like because I was born in 92, they started in 95. So I always kind of felt like me and the Jaguars kind of grew up together. And also they've been, also having that kind of underdog vibe for pretty much their entire existence. And also I love that like teal and black combination. I think, like those.
Yeah, the uniforms are definitely awesome.
Those weird like blocky uniforms they had, that was kind of a weird direction to go. But it's just, at the same time, that color combination I always kind of felt redeemed it. So I kind of, I always kind of felt like if I didn't have the Bengals when I was a kid, I probably would have ended up a Jaguars fan. So I'm probably just doomed to eternal suffering in football. I'm also a Kentucky football fan, in college.
That's tough. That is tough. But I do know that my roommate was from Louisville, and he actually was a UK fan, even though you have raised the L right next to you guys, right next to Lexington, an hour away.
You just made me so happy because you said the name of the city correctly.
Well,
You know how many people around here say Louisville?
Yeah, Louisville. Yeah, but that's just because I, living with him for 4 years, that helped me pronounce that correctly. But he's a big UK sports fan. But he said there's actually a lot of Hoosier people who live on that side of Kentucky too. So I mean, definitely.
That is also awful. I hate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you're an Ohio State guy, right?
I'll fight you.
You're not?
No, I hate Ohio State desperately.
Okay. So you're a Kentucky guy through and through. Okay.
Kentucky, and also I went to Ohio University, so I constantly had to deal with people getting us confused with Ohio State.
So do you have like a strong, being a UK football fan, do you not like Lamar Jackson, or do you not care?
I don't like Lamar Jackson. Part of it was Louisville, but also part of it was he went to the Ravens. And see, the thing is, like, out of all of the rivalries the Bengals have, the Ravens have always been the one that I had the least disdain for. I really like that purple and black combination. I think you guys have cool uniforms.
Also, Ravens fans don't exist outside of Baltimore, so
Well, I always liked Brian Billick too. Not as much of a Harbaugh fan, but I always liked Brian Billick. And also, you guys had the very first quarterback in the NFL named Kyle.
Bowler.
Yeah, Kyle Bowler.
Shout out.
Yeah.
I always liked him. He was bad, but I liked him. He had a cannon.
Well, yeah, I liked him just because of his name. Obviously, he was bad, but also Vinny Testaverde was another quarterback I liked.
Yeah, he had our franchise touchdown record for a season until last year. Lamar broke that one. So we were fans of that one. Vinny was our second ever quarterback, maybe. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh was actually on the roster. Jim Harbaugh was actually Ray Lewis's first sack. But yeah, Vinny Testaverde was in that game.
Yeah.
Very interesting season he had with us. Always a soft spot for Vinny.
But yeah, and when I was a kid, when the Browns moved to Baltimore, because Browns fans, when I was a kid, Browns fans were dicks because they weren't an eternally suffering franchise, so they had they could back up being dicks. Yeah. But right, exactly, and even like in 2000, the early 2000s, they were dicks and could kind of back it up. But so when I was a kid, I was very, very, very salty about that, and so I thought them moving to Baltimore was hilarious. And then I experienced the karma of having my basketball team removed from me when I was in 2008. So I have a very different perspective on relocation now, but at the time I thought it was funny.
Yeah, the good old Kings, let me tell you.
I'm talking about the Supersonics.
The Supersonics. That's right. The Supersonics. Yeah, that's right. I forgot you were a Supersonics guy. Yeah, they moved to Kings for a long time ago. They moved to Oakland. No, sorry, Oklahoma City. Yeah, that was still a big loss. Now I still. Oh, here we go. Is that Peyton? Yeah, I was gonna say, is that Gary Payton?
Boy.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, man. Even Baltimore. I mean, I didn't experience it firsthand because I wasn't born yet. But the Wizards used to be a Baltimore team. Used to be Baltimore Bullets, and then they switched to Baltimore Wizards, and then they moved to DC because the NBA didn't feel that Baltimore was. Nobody gave a shit about Baltimore, but people would give a shit about the nation's capital. So, and as you can see, no one gives a shit. So, I mean, they should have just stayed here. But I am still a Wizards guy through and through. They suck, but
Well, ever since my team moved to Oklahoma City, and I can't condone that. I've kind of been like I don't know. I'm more of a college basketball person than a pro basketball person anyway. But
are you UK college basketball too?
oh yeah.
Okay. You mentioned football. Yeah, I'm a Maryland guy, so I mean we don't really match up much.
Well, my whole family's from like the east side of Kentucky, so I mean if you go down to the east side of Kentucky, you know that UK UK basketball, but also football to a lesser extent, is basically like a religion down there. So you can't be from that area and not be a fan. And if you're not, then you're gonna get cut.
Right.
But what was it? I was gonna say something about the pro basketball teams, but I've been kind of a vagrant fan since then. Like in the early 2010s, I was a Miami Heat fan just because I thought LeBron leaving Cleveland was funny.
LeBron leaving Cleveland was definitely hilarious.
Yeah,
I will take that to my grave.
Yeah, Thomas is doing the editing for this episode, by the way, so he's gonna watch this and probably
and of course him being a Cavs fan.
Yeah,
that's funny.
I will say though the Wizards, I kind of rooted for them a little bit just because of John Wall.
Huge John Wall fan. I was sad to see him go.
Yeah, where is he now?
He is over in Houston. We actually traded and got Russell Westbrook for him.
That's unfortunate. I never really liked the Rockets, which is weird. I've always been like a huge Hakeem Olajuwon fan, but I just don't like the Rockets for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, to help you out, you may want to start watching the Rockets because they have Wall and Cousins now.
Oh, they got
yeah. So as a UK guy, you might want to tune into some games.
That and Boogie's been, probably my favorite player in the NBA consistently since he got there.
Now, are you a big Anthony Davis fan too? No, or do you not?
Yeah, because he brought us a championship. I mean, other than that, I wouldn't be as big. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't be as big of an AD fan as I otherwise would be, but he did bring us a championship. But I also hate the Lakers, so there's a bit of a conflict of interest there.
No, I'm with you there. As a Maryland guy, there's not really too many Maryland players to root for. Now, NFL is a different story. There are a lot of Maryland players running around there. I mean, you got Stephon Diggs is probably the big one right now.
Didn't
DJ
Boomer go to Maryland?
Who?
Boomer
Esiason. Yep, your boy did go to Maryland. He did. Yep, NFL MVP Boomer Esiason went to Maryland. Yeah, but he wasn't that good at Maryland. That was the thing. He was like, okay.
Good enough to be a second round pick.
Yeah, he was like good. I mean, he was like college good, but like he didn't like stop the show or anything. Like somebody, quarterback. No, as a Maryland guy, not many people to root for in pro basketball. So we just kind of we follow them, and if they have the occasional, we'll say like, oh, this Maryland player had 20 points last night. Oh, cool. But then like the next 3 games he won't play. So it's just one of those things that we just casually follow. But we're big college basketball fans. My family is. Maryland actually plays Michigan tonight, so we want to beat their ass.
Not sure who to root for there because I've always kind of liked Maryland just because I think they got again it's the color scheme thing. I like that whole going off of the Maryland flag thing, but also I like Michigan because fuck Ohio State.
Very true. Very true. I'm not an Ohio State person. I am not a fan. I don't like, and I also think any quarterback who comes out of Ohio State is going to be garbage. So any team who drafts Justin Fields, I hope the Steelers somehow get them, so they'll suck.
I tried to tell people about both Cardale Jones and Dwayne Haskins, and nobody wanted to listen to me.
There's no way they thought Cardale Jones was going to be a good NFL quarterback. The guy was trash when he won.
Ohio State fans did. Ohio State fans think everybody from Ohio State fans. Every Ohio State fan thinks every Ohio State player is going to be elite in the NFL, and they very rarely are. I mean, you got Joey Bosa, you got, a year or two of Ezekiel Elliott, but I mean, for the most part,
Dobbins, baby, he's coming.
Who?
J.K. Dobbins, our running back.
No. Well, I did like J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins almost won me a fantasy championship this year, by the way.
Yeah, he caught on. They finally started starting him and got past their pride that Mark Ingram just wasn't good anymore. So I'm glad they got past that.
The first guy who I really remember Ohio State fans going crazy about, who I thought was insanely overrated by Ohio State fans, was Carlos Hyde. I was like, they thought he was going to be like the next Adrian Peterson, and I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the Carlos Hyde train. Troy Smith, they thought was going to be good.
Yeah, he was okay.
Shout out
for backup.
I liked him as a backup, and then he got then he got the really bad flu or whatever, and we ended up cutting him. But I liked him as a backup. Braxton Miller was another one. Terrell Pryor, remember Terrell Pryor throwing up the 1,000-yard season for Cleveland on the receiving end.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up being a dud. I'll tell you, man, Ohio State players do not have a good history right now. No, overall. I mean, they have the hit.
The Bengals have a history of drafting Ohio State players in the first round, and they're a bust every single time. Like, most recently, Billy Price, the center that we picked up because Frank Ragnow got picked up a pick before him. And Billy Price is, rarely ever plays and is probably about to not be a Bengal anymore anyway, because why would we re-sign him? He hasn't done anything. And then, back in the 90s, there was, Dan Big Daddy Wilkinson, supposed to be this amazing defensive tackle who, he was trash. Like, we had Archie Griffin. We drafted Archie Griffin, and he was trash.
That. Yep, 2-time Heisman winner. He was trash. One more question before I have to go, because I actually have to go over to my mom's. What's your deal again? What is the deal with Carson? What is your deal with Carson Palmer? I got 3 minutes here. What is the big deal with Carson Palmer? Quitter. Okay.
That's how I feel about Carson Palmer. Like, you know what? If you want to leave the team and go win Super Bowl somewhere else, then fine. If you want to demand a trade, then fine. But the amount of trash that he talked about this team afterwards was such bullshit when we made him the highest quarterback in NFL history at the time. And then he went and complained about how we didn't get him enough help, even though we signed fucking T.O. We brought in free agents to help him out. We brought in Delta O'Neal. We brought in et cetera, et cetera. We had some bust free agents, sure, but I mean, he acts like we didn't do anything for him. He acts like the fans were just complete trash and assholes to him, which some of them were. Some of them were, in fairness. But man, he's just got this fucking spoiled rich boy mentality that I just fucking hate.
Fair enough. All right, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate having you on for predictions. Everybody, we got the predictions recap coming out next week. We're going to see who actually came out among these insane predictions, which very few of which are unanimous among any of us. So we're going to see who's smart and who's a dumbass, probably me, because that's usually how it works out. Anyway, thanks for coming on, Zach. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Peace.
Take it easy.